got it going. With the spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and stream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stop to right now and we just walked away, we'd be back here next week, cause we just can't wait to play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined as always by the Brent.
Hello.
So, if you tuned in a couple weeks ago and saw us, we spun the wheel, we made the deal. Now, normally we make the deal and use jocularity, joyous banter to slowly seep into what the deal is, right? But this is a serious deal right here. I got the piece that we drew in my hot little hand right here. It says, non-engage Symbian OS games. It rolls off the tongue.
And who suggested that, Aaron?
This is our old pal Rushi, which means this piece has probably been around for about 10,000 years, as some of our pieces are. So Rushi's a highly technical man.
We're not.
No, well, I mean, listen, if we have to be, we get in there and do it. And so I looked at this, and Brent looked at it, and we sort of scratched our heads and furrowed our brows in a vain attempt to understand before our good buddy Jocko, the shining light, once again held our hands and helped us tiptoe forwards into the light to understand what this meant. So we're not going to be doing non-engaged Symbian OS games. That's for chumps. We're doing Symbian phone games, spelled out dumb guy style for the idiots, just like us, to know what that means. Brent, what do you know about Symbian OS phone games?
It's on that little piece of paper you got in your hand.
No, it's not.
Oh.
This does not engage Symbian phone.
That's somehow less than I thought I knew.
So, you know, when you get something like, occasionally this happens.
Yeah.
You come up across something that you forgot to pull off the wheel, and that you have to, and somehow you get stuck in the door, and so here we are. But I like to take these sort of experiences and turn them into a learning moment, a teachable moment for me. Because even someone with my vast wealth of knowledge, there are gaps, huge gaps in my knowledge pool.
Like yesterday.
That's right, or what I ate for breakfast. And so what I've got here, Brent, I've done a little research. Are you excited to learn about the Symbian OS?
As long as there isn't a movie or an old song about
Listen,
it.
this is actually kind of entertaining, and it's a cautionary tale about how quickly something successful can bite the dust. So I looked this up. I looked up some various stories and teachable articles on Symbian. And the first thing I read, and I read this 4 or 5 times, Symbian has been described by some as the most successful failure in tech history. So there you go. And it's funny how this worked out. So there was a time in the 2000s where the Symbian OS was the #1 phone operating system on Earth.
Woo!
It was crushing it. Okay, do you understand me? So what is it? There's a company called Prison. And it's actually Scion, I guess, but I put the P in there. Listen, what do you want? I work in prisons all the time. It's not the way I do it. So they began to offer this, they began to run this operating system and offer it called Epoch. And eventually Epoch was renamed as Symbian, okay? So what is this? Symbian ran on ARM processors on handsets from the likes of Sony, Ericsson, Motorola, Samsung, and Nokia. Nokia was sort of the king dog of these types of phones.
Sure.
And so
this was back in the days when your phone still had a number pad.
That's right. That's right. So as Symbian began to be the system of choice, ultimately they formed a Symbian organization and took the product open source, so everyone could use it.
There you go.
But what this was, it allowed sort of a unified operating system for programs and games and whatnot to run on your flip phones and whatnot. Get phones that were that had this operating system, and in truth, the Nokia Engage, which by Rushi's demand, we could not look at any games to the Engage. No problem, Rush. We didn't. but it also had a flavor of Symbian on it. The problem is, this is a big problem. So Symbian's the king dong of phones. They're ruling the roost, right? Nothing can stop them, right? Well, then something stopped them violently in their tracks. And it was called 2007 iPhone, honed into view. And everyone looked at the iPhone, and then they looked at their old phone, and they're like, well, over-the-shoulder chuck, that thing was gone. And Symbian, like, literally went from, like, the king dong to out the door when they basically, in February 2011, Nokia dropped Symbian, and I believe they ended up dropping their phone shortly thereafter. They made a deal with Microsoft. By the way, Microsoft didn't exactly burn it up on the phone front either. The rest is history. And in January 2014, Nokia stopped accepting new or changed Symbian software from developers, and that was the end of that. And in 2012, Nokia 808 PureView, it was the last Symbian smartphone from Nokia. And that was the end of Symbian pretty much for the most part. So it ran the roost for a while. Now, we were around for the times leading up to these phones, and when cell phones were in their infancy, and the games were less than trash back in the day. We also played some J2ME stuff a while back, which they share some games in common, and I don't think there are any phones that ran. You've got one or two. I don't think you had both when you had these, but there's more than a few similarities to it. But that's pretty much the end of Symbian. So when you think to yourself, wait a minute, so these ran on old cell phones. How the heck did you play that? Well, there's a special program out there. I don't know how many there are, but I think there's just the one big one that will simulate a certain set of cell phones, mostly Nokia. They simulate a few other ones, but there are some that it says, don't try this or you'll destroy the program. It's one of the few times I've played a program where the actual program recommended you don't run certain aspects of the program. And so I didn't.
That's it.
If the program says don't run this, it'll brick it, by God, I don't run it. And we want to, again, thank Pajako, who held the torch and led us down the path for these phone things. It's funny, when we did the J2ME stuff, it is sort of similar, the setup, that the J2, but the J2ME I found to be much, so here's the ticket with Symbian OS. While it was an OS that ran on all these ARM processors, there were different versions of it, lots of them. And ultimately, I believe the last main version was 9.x, which is where we both, I think, picked our games that were compatible with that, but you had to pick the right phone. So when we were looking for games to play on this, I would have to flip between several different phones just to try to find something to play these games. And the funny thing is, you would install games on a phone, and it wouldn't be there. But when you switched to another phone, then it was there. I'd forgotten I'd installed some of this stuff. I'm like, oh, there it went. How did it get there? The emulator, it's actually a pretty decent emulator, but it's not for the faint of heart, is it?
It's doing a lot of stuff in the background that luckily you don't really have to mess with, but it's a complicated emulator to say the least. And I don't mean complicated as in hard to set up. I mean complicated as in the people doing the work on this thing have done a lot of work.
Now, did you ever have a phone that had Symbian, or did you buy stuff did you ever buy programs for phones, stuff like that?
I never had a dial-faced phone that I'm aware of. I mean, if I did,
so you never had a flip phone or a phone that had keys on it, buttons?
I'm pretty sure the first phone I had was a Droid.
Yeah.
Which would have been into the Android OS era of time. So no, I think I skipped out on this era of phones completely.
One thing I did have flip phones, and then there was also the brand that didn't flip at all. They were just like rigid phones with a keypad. They were all Nokias. Nokia was the king dong of phones for years and years. But one thing I learned is that most of the good phones that would run these OSs, I would never have paid the money to get. Pajako sent me a great phone, actually brought it to me for Boat Fest that runs the JTME stuff, and I've played a lot of stuff on it and fooled around with it. It's a phone I could never have afforded back in the day.
Yeah.
Because it had like internet capabilities and stuff, and it was like my phones were always El Cheapo Grande because I could never see enough functionality in those old phones to make it worth my time to spend a ton of money on them.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit on the young side to really take advantage of the push button phones, and then when I was in college, I was too poor, so it wasn't until I was well established and on my own when I actually picked up a cell phone for the first time.
Do you remember when you actually saw a game on a phone and you were like, "Hey, that looks pretty good"?
No. In fact, I got Retro Bowl.
Wow, we covered that. I played it on my modern phone.
No, I'm not saying there aren't good games out there for the older phones, because there are. There absolutely are. Just they were not things that interested me at the time.
Remember you bought me a cell phone, you'll recall, the one that worked with the VR goggles.
Okay.
And so that's the first real phone I ever had. Up to that point, I was still using just a flip phone. And I remember having Uno on it, but it was the demo because I was too cheap to pay full price for it. I think it was a monthly fee. I'm not 100% sure. And I played a ton of Uno on it, but eventually it would time out, and then I'd have to start the game over. So that's probably, if I was going to pick something, but I mean, that's the kind of games you would get to play. Or I remember playing Snake on phones. Like, that was the fun. But that's it was pre what we're talking about today with the Symbian OS.
Absolutely.
This was stuff that was, archaic at the time. But still, it's basically you did it because you're bored stupid while you're sitting there waiting for somebody to show up.
That's it.
Sort of like now, it's much, much worse. So it was quite a struggle to knock a couple of things up. But we did have a chance to try. I don't know, did you get to try several games? Is there anything before you? I know we picked what you picked, but there were other games you thought about picking?
There really wasn't. I had a fairly difficult time finding games that worked with phones. Like I said, the emulator's a little weird because, like you were talking about, the list of phones that you can try these things on is massive. I mean, it's like 20 phones.
Yeah.
And you find a game that you think you want to do, and you install it, and then you are flipping through the phones to find the game you installed, and then you try to run it, and sometimes it just flat out does not work. And when that happens, you can try to go to another phone, but I never found one that just flat out didn't work, and then worked on a different phone.
Well, I tried multiple games. Let's talk about a few just before we get into it.
Sure.
In fact, I had picked a game that was going to be my game. I was out. I picked it. What I picked was Carmageddon 3D Mobile.
Yeah.
Now, we covered Carmageddon, a million years ago. But I was like, at the time I was desperate. I was like, I got to have something here, and I didn't know what to pick. And I played it. It was real good. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, and it played nicely. And it had music, sound effects, people getting run over. It was the green blood, but it was nice. They did a good job on that. In fact, I had that penciled in as my choice. But I felt bad because we'd already covered the main game. I was like, let me see if I can find. And also at the time, I didn't know how much stuff I'd be able to try out.
Sure.
So I tried something else. So I also almost picked Asphalt 4 Elite Racing. That was also pretty good. The music in it was incredibly chill. I mean, it was just a repeating chill refrain over and over. But it was okay. It was not the worst game I tried. I was pretty impressed with that one. I also tried a few games that I thought were pretty impressive, but I didn't want to go with them, including an Assassin's Creed game. It surprised me how many of the big games got ported over to the phone.
Yeah, there was definitely a period of time where your AAA games were making a splash on the phones.
Yeah.
Which shows you how far along the OS was.
Yeah.
I mean, for these big game companies to even be giving this a shot was pretty impressive. And some of those games, I mean, Assassin's Creed for sure, are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, what they can pull off is pretty nice.
I also tried a game called Turbo Grannies, I believe that's what it was called. And it was sort of like, Trials, except you're Granny on a scooter. The problem with that one is it wants you to tilt your phone to control Granny.
Exactly.
Did you try that one?
I loaded it back.
And so I was like, well, that's kind of cool, but I couldn't get it to work. And I also looked at a Spider-Man game and a Prince of Persia game. And they were, I mean, I don't know. Things impress me easily, but I thought for a
Yes.
phone, these look. Remember when we looked at all the stuff with the J2ME? These are right in line with those.
Yes.
I would say and like I said, there are some games that played in both arenas,
correct.
including one of the games I'm looking at, and so I don't know how different they were, but they were in the same wheelhouse. You'll recall when we covered J2ME games a while back, you picked some sort of I think it was a shooting game, but that's where I picked that Chuck Norris game that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are fun games to be had if you nose around.
Oh, absolutely.
And with that in mind, let's talk about what we picked and decide if we're any good or not.
Well, let me go first because I picked mine
All right.
solely off the title.
Okay.
Which I don't normally do. But I took a look at Crimson After Dusk.
Yeah.
That is an awesome name.
Pretty good.
Aaron.
Yeah, pretty good.
That is incredibly awesome name. The options on this game are ridiculous. This let you choose your control layout, and it's huge. You have 4 or 5 different things that you can choose from, and they all make sense on a numpad.
Yeah.
This was from a company called PalmSoft in 2008.
You know, I noticed that, like, if you wait long enough, the CEO's name just pops up on the screen on this.
Well,
Did you notice that?
The CEO's
There he
name
is.
pops up on all the story beats.
Dennis K. Colo. That's pretty. You got to be pretty. I bet he did the game.
Yeah,
And
I
what
would
would be
assume
better is he
so.
didn't do the game, but he demanded that his name pop on every screen. They need to know that I'm the CEO of PalmSoft, not just some geek.
So, PalmSoft Technologies, did they do things after this? I don't know. I have no idea.
See, look at
But
my palms. Nothing.
Finding information on these type of companies that were active during this time, both my game and your game, is difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult because a lot of these companies were here, made 2 or 3 games, and were gone. I'll have to say, though, Crimson After Dusk, I'm going to assume that these guys did more than just this one game because it looks like there's enough there. There's enough gameplay elements that they were pretty seasoned. So, in Crimson After Dusk, Aaron, the story's a little convoluted, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to hit the high points. You are in a castle with a lord, and you are a vampire. And the ever-raging war of vampires and werewolves are going strong.
Man, where's White Wolf the Sue? There it is.
And I'm not even going to try to pronounce... Okay, I'll try to pronounce one of these names.
Do it.
Lord Vlatzelstoff.
It rolls off the tongue. Old Blatzelstock.
He's the main dude, right? He's the main vampire of your order.
Yeah.
And after the war, because the war between werewolves and vampires actually concludes.
Yeah.
And he says, listen, my 2 best generals, I'm going to let you battle it out to see who becomes second in command, because this is sort of like peacetime, right?
Yeah.
And you were one of those, and you win the duel. So you send the other guy gets ejected from the castle. And then you start having visions and weird vampiric feelings.
Oh, yeah. When you get that feeling.
And the town turns on you because someone has killed the lord of the castle.
Oh, yeah?
And they're all blaming you.
You are a vampire, to be fair.
Well,
There's
yeah.
also that, you feed on the blood of humans.
So, the whole story is you clearing your name, showing that you didn't kill the Lord of the Castle.
You're kidding me. That's the story?
Yes.
All right, because I've got an issue with that. I'll get to later. Go ahead.
Okay. The gameplay of this is very Castlevania-ish, but more later Castlevanias than the NES version of the Castlevania. You have 2 attacks. You can attack with your sword, which is a short range attack,
Yeah.
or you can attack with your rifle, which is a musket.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is you hold the button and you'll load the gun, and then you can have that set aside. press the button, you'll pull the gun out and shoot it, and then you have to hold the button, reload the gun again before you shoot again.
I never ever once used the musket.
I
I refused to do it. It was very realistic. It was not good in real life. In a combat, you need to have a big line of guys with muskets.
It was surprisingly long to reload.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of neat. The next thing you can do is use your vampiric magic. The starting magic is just a regeneration effect, and you can always regenerate. You regenerate on your own, no matter what, just walking around.
Yeah.
Or you can kneel, and you'll regenerate a little bit faster.
Yeah, just like real life.
Or you can use this vampiric power, and you'll regenerate quite a bit faster. The game has you earning XP. There's loot in the game. You can get new swords, new guns, new vampiric magic, armor, items, keys, the whole thing. This is an action RPG through and through. No, it is.
I mean, this game is bizarre to me.
Well, I'll give you your chance. I'll give you your chance. Everything that you do in the first section of the game is trying to break out of the werewolf's castle.
Yeah.
So you are battling through killing different werewolves. There are some normal wolves running around. A fairly decent bunch of enemies. All with different strengths. Well, there's like four or five. No,
two enemies.
No, there's way more than that.
Well, I mean, what do you mean?
You've got the regular wolf.
Yeah.
You've got the wolf with the crossbow.
Yeah.
You've got the big, huge honking wolf.
But that's
not the boss. Not the boss. The one
Okay.
that's just running around.
Don't you see? How often did you see the regular wolf and the crossbow wolf? All the time. It's not like there's tons of enemies. I'm not giving you that one.
There are a fair number of enemies in the game total, Aaron. If you want to go down this path, 60 fully animated enemies throughout the entire game.
Okay, well, I will say I didn't get that far.
There are 50 different weapons and equipment pieces.
Yeah.
8 areas, over 100 maps. It has an original soundtrack, but don't be super impressed because the sound is just a repeating loop.
Yeah. That's the phone way.
It has destructible background elements.
Oh, yeah.
Your chest, your candelabras, all that good stuff. There are side quests. There are secret areas. And this game has multiple endings, which I did not even come close to seeing.
No.
This is an amazingly good time, in my opinion. I like how it controlled. Although, to be fair, I was playing on the keyboard, so I could control it however I wanted.
Yep.
So I don't have the phone experience in that regard.
Yeah, it's better than the phone experience.
It absolutely is.
Lots better.
When there are stairs in the game, you don't have to jump up the stairs. You can just walk, and your guy will kind of pop up the staircase. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
But I know you're chomping at the bit here, Aaron. So go ahead, say what you want to say, and then I'll defend the game from your stupidity.
This game, listen, I don't hate the game. It was a playable game.
Yeah.
This is kind of like reverse Castlevania. You're the vampire. You're going around. First of all, the town, your name is in the dirt, so you've got to go through here. And so what does your guy do? He goes to somebody else's castle. He kills all the people in it, and he doesn't just do that. He desecrates every square inch of his castle. Like the werewolves have all kinds of statues and busts. He destroys all of them. He destroys their library. He destroys all their candelabras.
Their photos, their pictures.
He does. An added bonus, why does he find blood in the candelabras, for example? What kind of candelabras are these? What are they burning in there? He finds blood in bookcases and pictures. It's the goofiest thing. The werewolves are your my special favorite are the crossbow werewolves, because that's like giving a grizzly bear a chainsaw. You know, and on the flip side, how many vampires carry around a shotgun? What's the point of that?
Not a shotgun, a rifle.
I don't care.
A musket.
He's a vampire. Why does he need a gun? Does he really need that? He doesn't, is the answer.
Well, if he wanted a long-range attack.
Isn't your vampire a chick, by the way? I think it is,
no,
right?
No.
Okay, well, I don't know. I wasn't ever sure. Oh, I should mention the vampire also destroys all the werewolves' booze because they got casks everywhere. They also destroy. So this vampire's a real jerk.
That your character's name is Alif Dusk Graves.
Who came up with these names?
Not me.
Is that a triple word Yahtzee score? What is that? Get that out of here.
Pretty sure you don't spell much in Yahtzee.
Oh,
but go
you
right
do.
ahead.
So you go through this castle, and it's rinse and repeat. I mean, let's face facts. Yes, are there 60 monsters? Maybe. But on this level, there are 3 monsters. Don't act like there's a cavalcade. There's a zoo of animals coming after you.
There's a fair amount of enemies.
There's werewolves with guns. With crossbows. By the way, what's the hierarchy of werewolves? Do they treat the other dogs like pets? Like, what's the scoop on that? It's something that's something to ask
I don't know
yourself.
if the game gets that deep into it.
You know, the systems involved and the inventories, that's pretty good. I didn't have to go do anything like that. I didn't pay any attention to the inventory screen or the gun. I just ran through. Something you didn't mention, they just did it there. I thought was funny. The only time you can save in this game is when you find coffins.
Yeah.
And so you go into coffins. It does auto-save occasionally, but you can do an actual save whenever you find a coffin, which is pretty good because there's a couple places where I could see a coffin, but I couldn't get to it. It was driving me nuts. So it's that kind of game. There's a lot of like, oh, you got here, but you don't have the key. You better run back the way you came for 1,000,000 screens and try to find what you need. So there's a lot of that, but it's exploring.
Yeah.
The game moves briskly. For something that you play on your phone, that I had the phone buttons mapped to my keyboard, it played pretty good with the arrow keys and the phone numbers on there.
Yeah.
It worked okay. It's got a good look to it. It's a good shadowy look. But, I mean, it's a basic sort of game. The platforming's okay. It's not like you need to platform. It's not like Mario or anything. But, I mean, you feel like you're getting around okay.
Well, and something we should mention, because Aaron and I did have a brief chat about this beforehand. Neither of us killed the first level boss. So
No.
both of our experiences are just off the first level. And
Yeah.
I'll get into why that is here in a moment.
Yeah, the first level boss throws boulders at you.
Or now. We can get into it now. That's good too.
And so that's why we didn't beat him. But I mean, overall, yes, was this and you got to keep in mind, this is a game you'd play on your old phone. Not bad. I enjoyed it. I mean, it brought up more questions than it answered. The funny thing, and this is one of those games where, like, the crossbow was a perfect example. They would just sit there and repeatedly shoot bolts on their crossbow while you just crush them. And they don't attempt to move, run.
Oh no, yeah. There's no enemy
You know.
AI. They're on their path. They do their thing.
The running wolves, they sort of break up your flow because they're all over the place. But I just went through, my thing was, listen, I saw you got levels. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to destroy everything I can. And I didn't realize what that would mean. Because I hated Castlevania where you have to kill all the candelabras. This takes that to an exciting new level. Candelabras, statues, busts,
Well, you don't have
pictures.
to.
Yeah, but you get that sweet, sweet XP for it. You know, and then once you start leveling up, you become tougher. It doesn't take as long to kill this low-end crap.
Just a small correction here.
Yeah.
You do not get XP for destroying background elements. You only get
I don't
XP for destroying
Well,
enemies.
you could also run right past the enemies if you didn't want to kill them, but
That's
I killed
true.
them. It's not like they're hard. They're just tedious. It's a tedious affair, but it's not bad.
Okay.
That'd be my appraisal.
Let me express to you why you're wrong just a little bit here.
Uh-huh.
Does the game have some tedium? Yes, because
yeah.
if you don't level up to the point where you're one-shotting at least the wolves, there is absolutely no way you're going to get past the end boss. I know that because I didn't get past the end boss.
Yeah.
When you the screen will scroll up, down, left, right. There are transition points that will take you flip screen style to a new section of the dungeon.
I like that.
The attacks, your sword attack can be almost continuous. However, when you hit a bad guy, they do have invincibility frames. When you are hit, you are stunned for about a second. That's kind of annoying. Although you also have invincibility frames, so it's not like a monster can just generate you. The platforming on this is pretty, at least for level 1, is pretty simplistic. Your jump is very high, and you have full control over it as you jump. The enemies, none of the basic enemies are going to give you any problems. In fact, I feel fairly confident you can stand toe-to-toe with every basic enemy of the game, and just trade blows, and you're going to win and find enough blood that you don't have to really think about it much.
I agree.
Now, that's level 1. Does that change later on? I don't know. Let's talk about the boss.
Yeah.
The boss, you have a little cutscene when you get to his lair, and he's obviously ticked off that you're there. And
Yeah, he is.
and then
He's surprised, too.
and then you guys battle. One thing I want to mention real quick, you have red hair in this.
Yeah.
Which definitely makes
Long
you
red
pop
hair.
out of the background, which is a good gameplay thing, or good game design element. So there you are with your little sword or your musket if you're feeling particularly brave.
Suicidal.
And the end boss towers over you by at least double your height.
Yeah.
And 4 times your thickness. And so he complains that you're there, picks up a rock, chucks it at you, and 1/3 of your health is gone.
Yeah.
And yes, the battle arena does have enough maneuverability where you can kind of jump around and everything, but the beginning part of the game is so getting used to the game easy, that you can tell they really dumbed it down, that when you have to fight something for real, you are not ready.
No.
So I thought, aha, there's a big werewolf guy. I will shoot him with my musket.
No.
And I did. And it was like, ting. It was like 14 points of damage. And then he hit me with a rock and did like 80 points of damage.
Yeah.
That's when I panicked.
Yeah.
And I tried to run and hide. And he threw another boulder. I thought, I'm just going to jump it.
Yeah.
But he threw it at a slight angle and destroyed me.
Yeah.
Was that pretty much your take on the boss?
Well, no. It's funny. The first time I got to him, I was the best I did. And then after that, I was like, oh, God, because I was like you, overconfident. I'm like, I breezed through these geeks. Look at this dork. And then after that cutscene where he looks like he's got a Jan Brady haircut, like, oh, I'm going to crush this geek.
Yeah.
And then he warps into, like, Ultra Stud.
Yes.
Here he is now. I just have to come on the screen as we're talking. So, like, what did I do? I ran up. I did what I did to all the guys. I ran up and just started swording him, And, like, then he hit me with a rock. And I was like, okay. That hurt. And then before I knew it, I was dead. And then after that, I was panicked. The one thing you don't do is whip out the gun. That ain't going to do jack squat. There are 2 statues. I noticed because the first thing I did when I came to this room, I did what I always do. Tried to destroy that statue. As I'd done in every other part of just desecrating the entire village. And so when I did that and it didn't break, I was like, huh. And then I saw that guy. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to run and jump back and forth between those 2 things and avoid that rock.
Yeah.
But I never had the jack to pull it off. And this guy kills you so quick, you don't get much time to practice. Now, the good note is they do auto-save right there. So when you load up your game, you instantly go back to the boss so you can be killed again.
That's right.
Quickly and efficiently. So, yeah.
I'll have to say, though, Aaron, I had a lot of fun with this game. My time on it was good. I didn't feel blown away.
Yeah,
I didn't think...
I did by that boss. That's exactly how I felt.
But I'll have to say, if I was back in 2008 and had this on my Nokia phone, and it played even half as well as it did when I was playing it at home, man, that's a winner. That's a winner right there.
Well, listen, I have had a good time mocking this game. But I played Uno, the demo, okay? Do you understand me? If someone would say, hey, Uno boy, how about playing this game on your phone? I'd have had a conniption fit.
Yeah, that's it.
I'd have been like, my God, this resembles real games. Like you can do stuff with. So, yes. And something we didn't get into too much, when you touched on it a little bit, the graphics in this are real good. They did a good job with, like, the background.
Yeah.
Like, there are multiple layers of background. They did a good job of... giving you a nice feeling, like it's a full moon in a castle. Sometimes you're outside, sometimes you're inside. The castle breaks away in parts of it, which is nice. Sometimes you're up on the roof, running around. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I also liked how they had the cutscenes at the beginning. They had pencil sketches, depicting the scenes.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of neat.
It's funny because this game doesn't look like it came from a company that went belly up that quick. You would think to yourself, man, what happened? And maybe it's when they released it or whatever. But I was surprised because I thought it was a decent little game, and I actually thought the controls were halfway decent.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't using my phone, but I mean, just from using the emulator. Is this a game I would play now if you're into Castlevania? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're covering Castlevania on Amigos this summer, the new one. So it's sort of made for the Amiga, off sort of like assets for the 68,000. So Castlevania is sort of fresh in my mind because I played it recently. And this did have it was very, it's obviously sort of trying to simulate the experience of Castlevania, but if you're into Castlevania, this would be right up your alley, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It had almost like that NES feel to it. It was better looking, but I think it was. I think you could have a good time with this if you're into that sort of game. For me, it was okay. It's okay.
Well, that's what I brought to the table, Aaron. Now, there's no way you're going to beat the name Crimson After Dusk.
Well,
but
you're
what
right.
did you bring to the table?
So, like I said, originally I didn't even put on the Discord that I was going to be playing Carmageddon. I played a ton of Carmageddon, but then I saw another game. Because it's funny, I switched phones, and it was there. I was like, hey, wait a minute. It did install. And when I tried it and it worked, I'm like, oh, we have a winner. And so that game is Karma Fighter. Karma Fighter. Karma Fighter released and it was published and developed by Wicked Imp. Wicked Imp only had one other game that I could find, which was called Skyforce, which I tried to play. I couldn't get to work. And this was released on 3 platforms in 2006. It was on the Brew platform, the J2ME platform, and the Symbian platform. You could buy this game for as far as I could tell, new. You could buy this game for $4.49, as far as I could tell. Your mileage may vary. So what is this game? Well, I found I went to their webpage. I found it on Internet Archive, and they had a little blurb about it. If you'll allow me, it says,
absolutely.
Brave enough? Ready to stand up and fight? The best fighters of the Mystic Fighting Guild are waiting. No matter where, the picturesque China Mountains, forgotten Aztec ruins, the sunny beaches of California, or an abandoned pirate ship, make the most of your powers to show who's the winner of the duel. Create your own fighting style with a great variety of available kicks, punches, and special moves. Don't just stand there, fight.
Well, that's sound
advice.
advice.
So, and then they've got a list of the various features that the game has. You've got 3 different game modes, 4 animated fight areas, and 7 different characters with individual fighting AI, allegedly. 13 different kicks and punches, 11 unique moves, 5 hit reactions, easy and intuitive in-game controls with 2 control modes. And I found all these things to be true.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. So, in case you didn't figure it out, Karma Fighter is a fighting game for your phone, everybody. And what you've got here is sort of your classic fighting game, like miniaturized down. So for starters, they've got a practice mode where you can pick a character. And at first, you'll start out with just a few characters. And then eventually, you earn more characters. I believe you can earn up to 7. I think you start
with 4 and you can get 7.
And
correct.
so as you go through the game, the different game modes, when you beat the tournament, you get new fighters.
Yes.
Okay, but you do get to fight all the fighters in the tournament.
Yes.
So the first thing I want to talk about is the incredible graphics on this game. This game has got some unbelievably beautiful graphics.
Yeah.
It only has 4 backgrounds for the fights, but they're really attractive.
They remind me of Neo Geo.
They've got a very soft feel to them.
Yeah.
A beautiful soft. It's the only way I can describe it. Just a very beautiful and soft background feel. It mentions you've got the China Mountains, Aztec ruins, the sunny beach of California, or the abandoned pirate ship. They're all beautiful. If you're watching at home right now, what you're looking at is I believe this is is this the Chinese? No, this is the forgotten Aztec ruins, I think. But with the big waterfall in the background, the pirate ship's beautifully animated. The fighters all look nice. They're sort of generic looking because there's only so much you can do with the fighters that you have because they're not that big. But they do the best they can. So when you start this game, you've got several choices. You've got a quick fight tournament, then you've got sort of survival mode and practice mode. Quick fight is exactly what it sounds like. You pick a guy, you have a fight, that's the game.
Yep.
One fight. You win or lose, then it kicks you back to the main menu. So this is if like you've got 2 minutes and you're waiting in your car.
Yep.
You fire this up. It's as simple as there is. Tournament is exactly what you think it is. It's a tournament, and once you pick a character, this thing is sort of like the game is sort of narrated by this guy, this old Chinese guy with the long beard, the usual shtick. And he keeps telling you, okay, this next opponent's tough. This guy uses fire. Watch out for this guy, he'll cheat. You know, and then you play the game. Now, what makes this game unusual, and I think this is the Amiga comes to mind when it's something they could have learned from some of these ideals they use in this game. When you're playing a fighting game on your phone, you're not going to be pulling off 360 joystick moves with Zangief.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've got to keep it simple for the humanoids.
Yes.
So what this game does on the easiest mode is it gives you a button, all right, and the button does your attacks, and it shows you how you can do, like, if you're pushing down on your down button and hit the attack button, he'll do a certain set of low moves. If you hit forward and hit the attack button, he'll do a certain set of those moves. If you jump, he'll do a certain set. But it's all one button, and you even do your super moves out with this one button.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the whole game playing this way. It worked fine. It worked really well, and you can get off your, once you learn how to execute the super moves, and they might be something like forward button. Sometimes you don't even use the button at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just hit forward, and he'll do a super move. As you run through these guys, the backgrounds will rotate, you know. And
depending on who you're fighting. Yeah.
And then eventually you're going to get to the point where you fight some guys you haven't seen before. I believe the first guy you fight you haven't seen is a ninja. He's got the ability to, like, disappear and be invisible and teleport. And then you fight a guy that has, like, fire powers. And then ultimately you fight the old master himself. I believe his name is Poe or Pei. You fight him, and he's the master of the game. And once you beat that, you beat the game, and they give you a new character.
Yes.
Now, here's the caveat. For the most part, when it comes to basic moves, every person in the game does the same basic moves. The super moves are different, but the basic moves are the same. So you don't get the kind of variety you would get in, say, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where
Sure.
like every character has different maneuvers. But again, it's a phone. If you go into expert mode, and I don't know did you try expert mode?
That's what I played in.
Okay, so did you ever try non-expert mode?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a very short period of time.
So expert mode gives you buttons for it gives you 2 kick buttons and 2 punch buttons to use, and you use them just like you would in a regular fighting game, along with your special moves. That special moves pretty much operate like they did before. The special moves are all simple to get off. They're usually like forward dashes or reverses. And they may not, the one thing I noticed about the super moves is they may not necessarily jive with what you would expect. Like, for example, if you hit back, your guy might do a lunging front punch.
Yeah.
That's his super move. So it may feel kind of weird. So let's talk about the survival mode on this, which is an interesting way to do it. Now, we've seen these in games before where you take your character and just fight as long as you can. This is no different than that, but what you what you get out of these, what you do, thank you, is that there's a timer, and you get a certain amount of energy back per second that's left on the timer. So you get some energy back to keep going. Man, I played in survival mode for a good while. It was kicking a lot of butt, because this game, as fun as it is, and I think it's a pretty decent game, it's pretty simple in terms of, I didn't think it was that hard to win. I went through the tournament with one button and beat everyone except for the last guy. No, the second to last guy, the fire guy, beat me. I had to come back and beat him. But otherwise, I didn't have that much trouble of getting through the game. But I think for a phone game, for under $5, I think this is a pretty decent little fighting game. What did you think about it?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
This game was great.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
You are not giving nearly enough credit where credit is due.
All right.
It does a lot of little things that you would see from big fighters, full, in the arcade fighters, and it does it so smoothly that I was really impressed.
Yeah.
Thing one that it does, if someone jumps in and you roundhouse kick for a counter, it pops up a little box that says great.
Yeah.
If someone's doing their super and you counter with your own super, you get a box.
Yeah.
Your first hit, you get a box. All of those little things add up that make you excited for doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There are stuns in the game. You can attack this in two different ways. You can rush. You can just really get in there and pepper them with jabs and go at it that way. Or you can play footsies. You can keep them at range so that when they jump, you roundhouse kick them out of the air. The push kick in this is amazing. It's just a straightforward kick, but it has just enough range that it feels awesome.
Yeah.
The special moves in this are... the way the special moves work is you can't just do special move, special move, special move. You have a bar at the top. It fills up. When it fills up, you can do your special move. And then it empties and will slowly fill up again. If you're being aggressive, the bar fills up slightly faster. But it's not so fast that has to be the strategy you go by. The super moves are good. They're real good. But they aren't... It's not like you have to keep doing super moves to win the game.
Yeah.
There are no fireballs.
There's no long distance attacks at all. At all.
No range attack.
Which is for this sort of game would be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah.
As soon as you play this game, as soon as you start it, switch to the advanced fighting.
Well, I mean, if you were playing this on a phone, I could see how the basic
right, but no one's
don't want to have to really strain yourself.
But no one's playing this on a phone. They're playing it at home. When you go to your advanced fighting, you have control whether you do punches and kicks, and which are jabs or strongs. That makes all the difference to me. That is what turns this into I'm actually doing what I want to do type of fighter. It punishes you for jumping in. Which is good. I want that. I don't want to just be jumping all over the map. The computer has just enough AI to make the game a little bit of a challenge, but not so over the top that it's going to crush you over and over. That said, when the computer wants you to lose, you are going to lose. If you win, because I win all the fights all the way up until the fire guy, and then the fire guy beat me down.
Yeah, that's the same guy that got me.
And when you lose, I'm not 100% sure this is how it works, but I feel fairly confident. It dials the difficulty back, and then if you win, it starts ramping it back up again. But if you lose again, it actually kicks it down another notch.
Yeah.
That is a good way to do fighting games, difficulty-wise, because that way when you beat the full tournament on your, without having to continue, it means something that feels good.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't fiddle around with any of the new characters. I did unlock a couple of them.
Yeah.
But the boxing guy the kickboxer was my guy. I loved him. I had a lot of fun with him. His name's Billy.
That's how I played.
You also played Billy?
Let me ask you a question here, because we've been down this road. Does this game reminded me graphically a lot of something like Shaq Fu? Which I know people hate Shaq Fu, but the characters are real cool looking at it, and they're well animated. And in this, they're well animated, and they look good. And throw in a little like Panza in terms of the character animation of the actual martial arts moves. When a guy hits you with a side kick or a front kick, it looks like a properly, these look like kickboxing.
Everything has impact.
Yeah.
That people don't think about that when they're playing a fighting game.
Yeah.
But that matters. It adds to your enjoyment of the game. The special moves between characters are different enough to make them special. I enjoyed this way more than I liked my game, and I liked my game a lot.
Well, and this game also had stylish transitions, stylish scene changes. Like I said, we've already talked about how incredible the graphics are. The sound's okay. I couldn't get the sound to work on mine, so I had to go watch a video of somebody playing it with sound, but it sounds good. It's way better music and stuff than your game had.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the best, but it's good.
It's good enough.
So, by the way, guess what? I found reviews on this game. You ready to hear these?
Sure.
So, in June 2006, Air Gamer gave this an 80%. In May 2006, Midlet Review gave this 7 out of 10. In April of that year, this was given 4 out of 4 stars, and the editor's recommendation at S60, it got a 7.3 out of 10. That's pretty direct, pretty precise on wireless gaming. This got an 82% and won the Silver Award on for mobile game facts. And in 2007, this got a 3.5 out of 5 at Pocket Gamer. Now, it's hard to rank a game given that we've never played hardly any games on Symbian. So I don't know, they might all be great. But in terms of a phone-based fighting game, you'd probably be hard-pressed to do much better than this. Short of just getting the GBA emulator on your phone and playing Super Street Fighter 2 or one of the games on the GBA that was so incredible.
Yeah.
Because those are also good.
Yeah, this is not Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Right.
Okay?
No.
Let's get that out of the way.
But, it's for what it is. It's an original IP with original thoughts and some unique concepts to make a game like this playable on a phone. I thought it was quite great.
Yeah.
I was real happy with it. A lot of good action and a lot of beautiful graphics. I really can't go into the backgrounds enough.
They're
very beautiful backgrounds.
Yeah, they're very SNK like.
Yeah, they're real pretty games. So I think that's all I've got for Karma Fighter. Again, this one is not available. Neither one of these games are available for purchase now. But if you wanted to pick these up, they're out there. Go over to Internet Archive. You can probably source them. That's what we did. I think that's all we got on those, Brent.
I'll have to say, Aaron, as much as I dreaded this piece,
Yeah.
not knowing what I was getting into,
Yeah.
once everything was set up, I really, just like the JM2ME stuff, I really enjoyed my time with
I
this.
did too. I agree. It was a lot of fun to give these games a spin.
It's interesting that this is a segment of gaming that we missed out of, not because we weren't old enough or young enough, we just, our past didn't really go this way.
Yeah, too cheap. That's why I missed out on it.
But coming back and finding some of these are really, really an entertaining time.
And it's funny. I mean, for 3D games and games like this that are beautiful 2D games, there was really, I looked through some of these and I'm like, this is a decent little platform and I doubt it'll ever get played hardly anymore just because it's so difficult to get it running.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but we gave it a spin and we enjoyed it.
You know what's not unfortunate, Aaron?
What's that?
It's the wheel.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Now, Aaron, you were in charge of doing wheel stuff.
Yeah, I did.
And I didn't even see what you did, so why don't you tell the folks at home what
We've added, of course, we've kept the chat choice on the wheel.
Probably a poor choice considering today, but go ahead.
That's right, and the chat choice might be fold the show and die. But we've added from our good buddy Chris Folds, the PSP. How did we never cover that by now?
That is hard to tell.
And I've got 2 of these things, so we should have figured, what the hey?
So here we go. Right in the face, Aaron. What do you think of that? Right in their face.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
Oh, my
no,
God.
there it is. It's chat choice, everyone, so you know what that means.
All right.
It's a race against time for the chat to choose something. So quickly, you folks in the chat, it's your time to shine. Make your suggestions now, and the best suggestion will go to the money bank.
No, it won't. It'll be randomly selected, but good try, Aaron. If anyone in chat has a subject, a system, even if we've already covered it, a developer, a producer, a publishing house, a famous person that's in a video game that, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, anything goes. So we're going to give you, not a lot of time to get your suggestions in. And then we will roll the randomator.
While they're picking, I do have a few things I want to talk about real quick.
Yeah, do the in-game show stuff.
So, we will be doing a double bill this Friday, Brent, April 11th. Please join us this Friday. Starting at 6 o'clock, right? 6 for you.
Yes.
And we'll be starting off with the Amigos. Brent's going to fill in for both this week, and we're covering Dragon's Lair. Which will be a lot of fun, despite my stream Friday where it was not that much fun. And then afterwards, immediately following Dragon's Lair, the main event, we'll be taping R. Sinclair with the man himself, Benny Hill. I've never been so excited for this double bill. It's like this was made for me. Finally, 2 games I can stick my teeth into. The next to ARG will be April 20th. Sunday, April 20th at 6 p.m. And we'll be using whatever you guys pick out here for your game. So if you get a few more suggestions in, one more thing I'm going to talk to, 2 things actually. Firstly, we always forget to do this, Brent, but we need to do this today more than ever. I'd love to thank all of our Patreons and subscribers for sticking with us through all the lows and the occasional high, because sometimes they get mighty low. But we appreciate everyone, all your subs, all your gift subs. Thanks to everybody in the chat for sticking with us always. And we appreciate everybody on the retro that sponsors this show or other shows on the retro rotation. One last thing, Brent, we haven't been plugging this that much, but I've got the particulars here. It's Boat Fest 2025, the International Retro Computer Expo. Sounds pretty impressive when you put it that way. It's Friday, June 11th through Sunday, June 13th at the Social Event Space in downtown Hurricane, West Virginia. Tickets are still available. Just look up Boat Fest 2025. You'll go right to it. We would love to have you come to town and hang out with us. And myself, you get to meet the Brent. If you want to smack him around or maybe, whatever, he's right there. Maybe you want to hit me. It's okay, but we'd like to just hang out with you instead. We're going to be having all sorts of retro computer games and consoles. We're going to have a lot of fun. You'll meet a lot of people you've heard about. It's a good time. That's Friday, June 11th, 2025. Okay, what do we got here?
Aaron, the suggestions are in, both of them, and we are going to see...
Larry just picked a game.
And we are going to see what is, we're going to randomly generate a number here.
Happy put 6 in.
Okay.
It's going to pick sounds cool, isn't it?
1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. I didn't have enough.
You're really skirting fate here, the Brent.
And we've got...
Did you get down? There you go.
Pico 8.
The Pico 8.
The Pico 8, Aaron.
So I do know a little bit about the Pico 8, and I believe that's a thing that the guys over at Retro or at Pixel Gaiden talk about all the time. So we will give that a whirl. Games on the Pico 8. So there you go. Should be exciting and a lot of fun. Thanks for all the suggestions, everybody. And we will get at it. That'll be on the next ARG show, which will be April 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. But please join us this week for a double bill. It's Amigos, Dragon Slayer, and Art Sinclair with the Benny Hill. It should be a lot of fun.
I don't know about fun, Aaron, but we're going to do it anyway.
That's right. Anything you want to add to that cavalcade before you take it to the house? Nope. Let's get out of here before something else explodes. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
We got it going. With a spin of the wheel, we'll uncover our fate and stream it to you all in one take. We tend to be loud and we fight quite a bit, but it's an unscripted show, so you get what you get. If we stopped it right now and we just walked away, we'd be back next week, 'cause we just can't wait to play.